most skills can be learned decently with about 20 hours of focused effort. 20 hours. Like the first 20 hours of you actually doing something, you learn the most you're going to learn about the thing. If you just consider by percentage of learning from like you know nothing to 20 hours in, you already have a really good understanding of the thing. The problem is that most people will take years to start the first hour. And so that habit that you're referencing is that my speed, at least now as I've gotten better at this stuff, is that like I try to track the time from when I want to learn something or when I want to start doing something to starting it as soon as I can, because I just want to start getting through those 20 hours as fast as I can.
Yes.
And so that's just been a very tangible, because it seems like this amorphous thing, but there was a study that was done that was like, in the first 20 hours you can learn almost any skill. Playing guitar, running an ad, doing like you will learn more in that first 20 hours than any other time. So it's like, then just get to that 20 hours and don't delay.
Yes.
And that's been one of the deepest lessons I've had, because it took me 4 years to learn how to build a website, and it took me 1 day to actually learn.
What's up, Unstoppable Mindset community? Welcome back for another episode of the 5 Mindset Principles series. I'm your host, Rob, and as always, my mission each and every week is to bring you the tools, knowledge, and people that will help keep you focused, motivated, and unstoppable. On today's episode, we are breaking down the mindset of ultra-successful entrepreneur Alex Hormozi. He is the founder and CEO of Gym Launch, a company that he built with his wife, Layla, that aims at helping gym owners grow their business through aggressive sales. Alex has since sold Gym Launch for a whopping $45 million, and on the coattails of the sale, he launched Acquisition.com, a private equity firm that aims at growing companies quickly through leverage and marketing. These companies are only a fraction of Alex's story of resilience. Over the course of his entrepreneurial journey, he has had countless setbacks ranging anywhere from being cut out as the middleman by clients, to being stolen from by business partners and being brought back down to zero many times over. But in retrospect, these experiences have equipped him with the valuable insight into business strategy, leadership, and sales tactic. These skills are ones that cannot be bought and only earned through hard work and a relentless will to succeed. Alex has a true passion for the entrepreneurial journey, which he uses to empower many people through his various speaking engagements, online presence, and coaching. Alex's mindset solidifies his mission to inspire others willing to go the distance and take the same entrepreneurial journey of growth and understanding that he did. He is unquestionably unstoppable, and that is why he is this week's pick for breaking down his 5 unstoppable mindset principles. But before we get into today's episode, please show your support by sharing, liking, and subscribing to the channel. It lets us know we're doing a great job and to keep posting more and more content. And lastly, be sure to stick around till the end for a bonus principle. That's it from me, your host, Rob. Have a great week, everyone, and remember, be unstoppable. Enjoy the episode.
It took me 5 years to learn focus. It took me 5 years, maybe 10, depending on
what do you mean about focus?
Picking one opportunity and ruthlessly going after that one thing. I think a lot of people, me.
Yeah.
I get excited. I love opportunity. I love seeing the unseen, seeing where things could come together.
Because I see your mind going like I could tell like from far, like when you walked in the first time right here, and we met back in Brett Lee's event.
Yeah.
But you just, I could tell that you have so many ideas going around your head. I don't know if that's true, but you seem like you're thinking like 100 things at once. Yeah. And so like you talked about focus.
Yeah.
Does that also mean how you manage your time? Because I know in the beginning part, you give everybody your time. And then after you start growing, then you stop giving people time. And then some people just get insulted and they get mad. And how do you approach that?
So two separate. One is kind of like the networking and people thing, and the other side was like the business focus side. Yeah. So on the business focus side, it's accepting the fact that there are always many 10 out of 10 opportunities. So the first thing I did was I was picking bad opportunities to go after. You know what I mean? Like, opening a dry cleaning store, or rather, I'll walk up the opportunity ladder. This might be interesting for everyone. So like, opportunity level number 1 is that you're working at a dry cleaning store, right? Like, and you're cleaning the clothing, right? That's like lowest level opportunity. You're trading time for dollars. You have zero leverage. One level above that is you're managing at that store. So now you in some way have some leverage, but you're not still owning, but you're operating, right? Mm-hmm. Level above that is you own the dry cleaning store. Okay, that's cool, but your leverage is you got 5 mile, radius of people that you can serve out of the entire world. And the only level of leverage you have there is labor. That's all you have, is you have leverage over other people's time. The level above that is you franchise, or you sell other people your business model for how to do it. Now all of a sudden you've got capital and you've got leverage. You've got other people's money and other people's time. So all of a sudden that thing can go from being maybe a $1 million opportunity to a $100 million opportunity, right? And then all of a sudden, if you aggregate franchises, right, now you're at $1 billion. So it's like each of these things and if let's say you created a software that made the whole thing faster, it's like now you're using code, and then you associate like Kylie Jenner's brand with like Kylie Clean, whatever. Yeah. And so then you're using media to get even more leverage on the opportunity. And so learning about leverage was the thing that took me a long time to understand in terms of what boat I'm in. So I'll give you the quote from Warren Buffett, but he said, I'll give you the full quote. So he had his closest friend from Columbia Business School who went to school with him. They were really smart, really hardworking, liked each other a lot. When they finished, his best buddy went to do into steel business, manufacturing steel, and then he started Berkshire Hathaway. 30, 40 years later, this guy, the steel business is a tough business, right? He made an okay living. He's like, but he didn't do anything really exceptional. And then Warren built Berkshire Hathaway. And he said, and that's when I learned that it wasn't about how hard you row, but what boat you're in. And so there's a lot of really, really hardworking people out there who are really smart. They're just not, the thing that they're missing is ignorance of opportunity. It's ignorance of leverage. And so if you can get into a better leverage opportunity, the same time or same effort or same intelligence can yield you a 10x, 20x, 1000x return, which is hard to conceptualize, but still true. Mm-hmm. And so understanding the leverage of the opportunity, and then from a character perspective, understanding that I have to pick a high leverage opportunity and I must stick with it for an unreasonable amount of time. I have to just keep doing it. And the outsized returns, the compounding of the opportunity comes from the depth of the experience, which comes through repetition. And so a lot of people get, whether a mile wide, an inch deep, rather than a mile deep, an inch wide. And most times that kind of depth of experience is what gives you the compounding outsized returns in the longer haul. And so I think if I had known, one, how to pick the right opportunity, and two, said, okay, if I did just this thing for the next 10 years, it would be unreasonable for me not to be a billionaire, then nothing else matters. Mm-hmm. So even if somebody's like, dude, I've got this new tech thing, it's going to be huge, I could say, totally understand. But if I do just the thing I'm doing right now, I'll get to $1 billion, which is right now the current goal, right?
Yeah.
And so that's it. Right around that point is when I met my wife, and then she just, changed my life. And she started running all the businesses, and I'd see her, and everyone loved her. And I was like, man, I should do more of that stuff and less of my stuff.
She changed your life.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Bar none. I mean, she's like the best.
How did she change you?
She has brought out the absolute best in me. Like in just about every way. Like, didn't think we were going to go here. She believed in me. And I think that's what most guys want, truly. At least for me, that's what I wanted. Or needed. I'll tell you a story to illustrate it. So we met, talked for 4 hours on the first date, only about business, because that's all I wanted to talk about. And I pitched her on working for me. I was like, quit your job, work for me. And she was like, I just met you. Logically makes sense. She was a personal trainer. I had a bunch of gyms. And I was like, if you're this good, you should totally work for me. She was like, well, let's see how this goes. And so I had this idea for the turnaround business, and it was right as I had five locations at that point, and I wanted to try this thing out. So I flew out, did 3 turnarounds, flew back, and they started working. And then I sold all my gyms because it was like, okay, this makes even more money. I took all the money and put it into this gym that one of the guys I was doing a turnaround with was like, dude, you just crushed this. Like, I'm a really good operator. Instead of turning his gyms around and walking away with just the money, he's like, you should just keep owning them, and I'll just fill them up behind you. So I could launch 1, 2, 3 gyms a month and then own them all. He's like, you're leaving so much money on the table. I was like, okay. So we did this first launch. I put all the money in. He was like, of course, he had financial difficulties, and I had to personally guarantee the lease, normal stuff. And And so I crushed this launch, and then I wake up one morning, I check the bank account, and it's completely empty. And I was like, what's happening? So I called him up, and he was like, well, I know you're skimming from the business. And I was like, what? He's like, I know you're skimming. I was like, what? No. He's like, well, that was my half. And so I was like, what is happening? So I printed all the bank statements. I went line by line. I was like, I'll walk you through all the bank statements. Let's get to the bottom of this. And I remember we sat to the meeting, and he was like, I don't need to see that. And he pushed it off the table. And I was like, oh, okay. I immediately was like, oh, I just got fucked. And he'd already been indicted for fraud. And I knew this getting into business with him. And it was just a big misunderstanding. And, the saying goes like, when experience meets money, money gets the experience, and experience gets money. Very much lived that. And so after I had all my gyms, I sold them, put all the money in this thing, and then it all got taken. And so I had nothing. And Layla's with me at this point for this exciting period. So I was like, okay. She was like, hey, maybe we should keep doing these turnarounds instead of this weird launch and go thing you sidelined for. I was like, okay, we'll do that. And so I was going to launch a gym the next month. And there was a guy who was local to that gym. And since I was refocusing, I was like, all right, I'm going to build all the infrastructure. I'll send the sales guy out to do this thing. And he crushed the launch. Did like 120,000, which for us was a big launch, in 3 weeks. And so now I'm at Layla's parents' house because we don't really have a house at this point. And I'm the guy that she met from the internet that she quit her job for, who just lost everything. And I needed this $100,000 to come in from this launch so that I could recapitalize. And the money wasn't hitting. I was checking the bank account. I was like, where's this money? And I could see the processing, the transactions, and it was all 6 hours. I was like, what's going on? So I called the processor up, and I was like, what's up? And they said it's a routine check. I was like, I've been with you guys 6 years. It's never been a routine check. And they were like, call again later. And I was like, okay. So I called about the next day, nothing. And then finally it was Christmas Eve. And I owed this guy money for the commissions from the sales. And I was like, I will not get off this phone until you send me the money that I am owed. And
To the payment processor.
Mm-hmm. And they were like, long story short, you were doing stuff in different locations, and I was running this all through a local gym business, even though I was all over the nation. And they were like, this is a little irregular. We're just going to hold on to this for 6 months.
Shit.
Right. Now I owe the guy $22,000 in commissions. I, in total now, had $23,000. So I wired him the money, and I had $1,000 left. And it was December of 2016. And I was like, I screenshot it because I still have the screenshot on my bank account. So I went from 6 gyms, turnaround business, all this stuff to $1,000. And I was like, this sucks. And Layla had just got 6 of her friends to quit their job to come do this turnaround business with me. And they were starting 2 days later from the 24th. So the 26th of December, because I planned on getting this $100,000 in and then being able to launch 6 gyms because they took about, whatever. It was $3,300 a day in cost to have 6 guys out there in the field selling. $3,300 a day that I did not have. And so I still had a credit card that had a $100,000 limit on it. And so I'm at her parents' house, in an extra bedroom, having lost everything. And my one Hail Mary play of this launch, the money did not come through. And I was like, I think you should leave me. I think I am a sinking ship right now. And I would respect you. We're cool if you want to walk away. We're good. I won't think less of you. I would walk away from you right now because this has a very high likelihood of not going right. And she pulled my chin towards her and she was like, I would sleep with you under a bridge if it came to that. And it's hard to comprehend, but I had nothing. For her to have that kind of belief was very, it was deep for me. There was this one, to consolidate what we were saying earlier, because this matters a lot to me.
Give it to me.
Most skills can be learned decently with about 20 hours of focused effort. 20 hours. The first 20 hours of you actually doing something, you learn the most you're going to learn about the thing. If you just consider by percentage of learning from nothing to 20 hours in, you already have a really good understanding of the thing. The problem is that most people will take years to start the first hour. And so that habit that you're referencing is that my speed, at least now as I've gotten better at this stuff, is that like I try and detract the time from when I want to learn something or when I want to start doing something to starting it as soon as I can, because I just want to start getting through those 20 hours as fast as I can.
Yes.
And so that's just been a very tangible, because it seems like this amorphous thing, but there was a study that was done. There's like in the first 20 hours, you can learn almost any skill. Playing guitar, running an ad, doing like you will learn more in that first 20 hours than any other time. So it's like, then just get to that 20 hours and don't delay.
Yes.
And that's been one of the deepest lessons I've had, because it took me 4 years to learn how to build a website, and it took me 1 day to actually learn.
Crazy. Because you decided to act on the learning.
4 years to delay and procrastinate and say, I'm not a tech guy. I'm not a tech person. This isn't my kind of thing. I'm a gym guy. I'm a local business owner. I should pay somebody to do this. I'm above this kind of thing. Like all these stories, right? And then one day I sat down on a Sunday morning. I was like, I'm going to learn this thing.
And you Googled it and you just learned it.
Step by step by step. And you know what? I set the whole day aside. It took me 4 hours.
Crazy.
So I'm a big believer, and this is a little bit contrarian, that proof is the best type of evidence for a trait. And so rather than say like, I'm honest, but like you're a crook. Like all the evidence points to the fact that you're a crook. Like I think that when you say that, on some level, you don't believe you, because you know that's not true.
Yeah.
And so I try and look at, okay, what experiences or things I've done in the past can I transfer that are close enough to this new thing? So if I built a sales team at a weight loss company, and then I really want to do this new gig that's at a chiropractor joint, and it's also building a sales team, can I say that that skill is going to transfer? I have high confidence that I'll be successful in this thing. That would make sense for me. If I had built 6 sales teams over my career, I'd probably be even more confident. Right. And so the thing is like, if I'm listening to this,
borrowing confidence from another experience in your life.
And so the problem is, what do you do when you're at 0? When you're like, I'm not confident. I haven't done anything good, right? I've got no achievements to my name, etc. I think that you're delusional, because it's like, if you were able, like all you have to do is chunk down and think, okay, well, what did I do? Like, let's be real. What did I do today that was good? Well, I woke up. Okay, cool. I got out of bed. Okay. Well, I showed up to work on time. Okay, so I'm punctual. You know what? I always show up to work on time. That's okay. I do that, right? And I respond to things pretty quick. Okay, I do. So I'm responsive. So it's, you chunk down until you're like, okay, what things can I say that I have proof that I'm good at? And then those become things that you can stack on top of one another, because it's not delusional. Because let's say mom says, you're blah, 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 blah. But you're like, no. I hear you, but I have proof. So like, I get you have your opinion. I have facts. And so my goal in life has always been to stack as much proof as I possibly can to support that I am who I say I am.
Even if you have to embellish a little bit of that proof, right? Like, even if you say, I know I only did it at this level.
Oh, yeah.
But that same thing could get compounded 10 times. It's just, I didn't have the eyeballs yet, or I didn't have the experience
or the
yet,
time.
or the time yet, right?
Yeah.
I love that thought.
And so that's always been my goal, is like, can I stack enough evidence to give enough proof that I am who I say I am? Do I have them or not, for the people who are listening? Because people like to think, yes, I have it, or like, oh, well, I have all 3 of those. It's not having them. And I'm sure you've interviewed some of the most successful people on the planet. It's how much do you have?
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that like your ability to delay gratification, it's not just like, oh, I can wait a week or I can wait a month. But I made this tweet that went pretty viral. And it was like, if you can wait a year, you can make a ton of money. Like if you can do something for 12 months, you can not need for financial goodness pretty much for the rest of your life. I'm not saying you're going to be hella rich,
right,
but you're not going to need for anything if you can wait 12 months. If you can wait a decade, you're going to be above the 1%. If you can wait 10 years for an outcome, be able to do the doing without seeing the result for 10 years, you will be able to be above most achievement of most people. And if you can wait a lifetime and you don't even need to see the result of your doing this, even while you are alive, but know that it may get done after you pass, then I believe that you can change the world. And I mean that. And so I think that if people can just extend the time horizon that they're measuring themselves on, they can just do so much more. I mean, you've probably heard the Bill Gates quote where he says, people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. I think it's the same thing, just continue to draw it out. And I think as we've been able to, achieve more leverage and make more money, et cetera, my horizon has extended. And when I listen to the people who I want to emulate, I can almost tell by the measurement of money that they talk about and the measurement of time that they discuss how successful they are or how successful I think they're going to be. Like if I talk to a 25-year-old and he's talking about what he wants to do in 2 decades and his whole plan of what he's going to do, as long as he's not just blowing smoke because he's heard an interview from me, then I'm like, this kid's got it. He gets it. And most people just don't think they can't wait 90 days. Most people can't even wait a month, right? They start a diet and 14 days later they don't have a six-pack and they can't wait. But like if you do a year, you can look whatever way you want for the most part, by and large. And if you wait a year for the ability to learn how to sell, you wait a year for the ability to learn how to market, wait a year just providing value to a group of people for free and then delaying your ask, you can do whatever you want.
Thanks for making it to the end, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. And again, if it provided you with any value, our only ask is that you please like and subscribe. And as promised, here is your bonus principle. Enjoy and see you on the next one.
Slaves worked all the hours they were awake for their entire lives. In American history, in Egyptian history, in the rest of the world that had slaves, which is most of the world at some given point. I think like if they can do it, so can I. Now you're like, well, did they have a happy existence? Well, they didn't get to pick the work they did, but it means that you can work. That's if you have the cat behind you. You can work every hour of the day. I'm like, well, if you get to have the cheese and you get to eat the cheese the whole way you're going, then, there's the famous quote, the person who loves walking walks further than the person who loves the destination, right? And so like, I think it's the same thing, but so many people want to project their idea of what they think your life should be like onto you. And it's just completely irrelevant. It just doesn't matter. Like if all I did, if I weren't married, right? Because people are like, okay, well, he is married and like I am in shape, but I also just like working out. But if I didn't have either of those things and all I did was work all day, more people would talk about the work-life balance thing for me than they currently do. And who cares? I fundamentally am like, you are going to die and you're not going to matter. And I'm going to die and I'm not going to matter. So why do I care about what you're going to say when you're not even going to show up to my funeral? Who gives a
What is it that you're taking an enjoyment from then? The one step deeper than this, there is something that you're optimizing for.
Oh, I love the reward.
What reward?
The micro rewards I get every day. Like
of operating a business.
Of all things business related.
Yep.
So I love writing the book about business. I love talking to my editor about what we're changing. Oh, that's a really way better way to say it, right? Or I like tweeting about the thoughts that we have. I love doing discussions like this because I talk about my favorite topic, which is business for the most part. And I actually am pretty averse to punishment. I've learned that about me. Like, I do not like it. And when I say punishment in the formal sense, like things you don't like, right? And so like I avoid them like the plague. I don't do them. And so I just do as many of the things I can that reward me as frequently as possible.
But from the outside to a lot of people, that looks like punishment.
Right. Yes.
Interesting. How can someone cut through societal expectations, the ways they've dealt with past trauma, expectations from parents, all of the things that aren't their thing?
Yeah.
How can somebody, because what you've done, again, axiomatically, a priori, this is the thing I want to optimize for. How do people find the thing that they want to optimize for? I don't have a thing. Alex, that's fucking great for you with your business. It just happens to be something else that's at the intersection of making a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
How do I find
And
my
I was
thing?
lucky with that.
Yes.
That just happened to be the intersection. Because if I love knitting and I didn't like business, that's a whole separate, because like you can turn knitting into a business, but like if I only like knitting, then there's a way to make a living from that. But to get to the person who's like, how do I find my thing? I'm a big fan of being directionally correct rather than absolutely correct. And so I think what happens is most people are trying to find the perfect answer when they have no perspective from which to make a judgment. They're trying to find the perfect thing to do when they haven't done anything. So how would you have perspective to make a judgment? Like if you try a lot of things in the beginning, which you have to know what your inputs, outputs are, decrease your action threshold enough with either a cheese or a cat, whatever you need. Most people have more cats than they have cheese in the beginning. So use the cat to start running towards something. And the thing is the rat, it's so simple. It's like there's cheese here. But what you really just need to know is that there's cheese out there. And there's a cat behind me for sure. And so if I just go anywhere away from the cat, I will have a higher likelihood of getting closer to the cheese.